in a game that looked like it would be one of the worst games in the history of the Red River Shootout ends up being one of the best and maybe the best in history. Welcome into Mover Breakdown. My name is Jason Ray, your host. I'll be being with you for the next however long you guys want to be here, hour and a half, talking about this game that had so much to unpack, so much to talk about, so many things happening, so much emotion. Um, Obviously, I'm only 40, so I haven't been around as much, but one of the best football games and one of the best Red River rivalry games I've ever seen in my life. Definitely the best from my perspective, just based on where Oklahoma was to start this game, down 28-7, just playing really bad on both sides of the ball, really unable to tackle. And then obviously, I know we're going to get into a ton of Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams stuff, but just so much stuff. I've never, I think this is, if any other game reminds me of the 2001 game when, of course, different circumstances, but Jason White comes in and brings Oklahoma to a victory. Obviously, that game was much more on the defense, but oh my gosh, Oklahoma had you could see the energy, you could see the life that got thrown into that football team and that crowd when Caleb Williams saw the field. Oklahoma 35 second half points to win the game. Obviously 55-48. Defense was much better, getting pressure on the ball. I'm sorry, pressure on the quarterback a lot in the second half. Maybe not quite as much that last drive, but did extremely well getting to the quarterback, affecting Casey Thompson on the defensive side. Tackled a lot better. I thought a little bit of a difference maker was, even though he got beat a couple of times, you're going to expect that from a true freshman. Latrell McCutcheon being inserted into the lineup and there in the second half as well helped. I think you'll probably see a lot of more of him going forward. Jaden Davis was pretty bad early in the first half. So all areas of the team played extremely well, rallied around Caleb Williams. The offensive line, I thought, as bad as they've been through kind of 5 games and a half, rallied around Caleb Williams, played outstanding in the second half. Listen to this. When we've talked about Oklahoma's inability to run the football all year, really consistently, Oklahoma runs for 339 yards in this game. Kennedy Brooks, almost a tear comes to your eye, just how happy you are for that kid. Obviously opted out last year, and it's not got off to as good of a start as you would expect him, and maybe hope that he would have gotten off to this year. But he ran the ball incredibly tough, incredibly hard, incredibly patient, in having those 2 big plays. I know that Herbie kind of talked about it on the broadcast, and felt good for the kid. He did everything that he was supposed to do on that long run, and then got the ball stripped. He knew where he was at. He knew where the guys were at that were coming, tried to get him. He knew what he had to do. The defensive player just made a really great play, and fortunately for Oklahoma, his knee was down before. So Oklahoma caught some breaks in this game early on. Early on in the game, the play where Mike Woods actually had kind of ran out of bounds and then came back in. Thought he did a really good job. So I think all in all, overall offensive line, best game that they've played, particularly in the second half, best game that they played all year. Leaned on that Texas defensive line. And then when you look at, like I said, Kennedy Brooks, especially that last play, 25 carries, 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. Just incredible football from him in this game, and needed every bit of it. So, like I said, a great, incredible game on both sides of the ball in the second half. Outside of that last, touchdown drive by Texas, Oklahoma was pretty solid, tackled Bijan Robinson very well. And let's not take anything away from him. I think he is the him and Kenneth Walker the third from Michigan State, but I think Bijan Robinson, for my money, is the best all-around running back in the country. And I don't think it's necessarily even close, really, with it what he brings from the backfield. So, and I know, and here's what I know a lot of us want to get into. A lot of us want to talk about is Spencer Rattler and Caleb Williams. So, with Spencer Rattler, I don't want to don't want to trample on the kid's grave too much. He's still a he's still a kid who's still trying to make plays. He still wants to he still wants to be a good quarterback. But I think what you're seeing is what you saw in this game is just kind of a microcosm of what you've seen throughout the year. He was very indecisive. Turnovers, obviously the interception, and who knows whose fault that was, the miscommunication between him and Nossa Stogner. The fumble, again, him trying to make too many plays, do everything on his own, and then just his overall command of the offense. But I think more than anything, a lot of things that you see is the lack of leadership on behalf of Spencer Rattler. When Caleb came in, made that first long touchdown run. No congratulations to Caleb Williams. No congratulations to the team. And you could tell based on the way the team responded to Caleb Williams that the team is behind him. The team wants him to be the quarterback, and I don't know if it's the turnovers. I don't know if what what you get out of Spencer Rattler is really more of a me type person. I think the leadership or lack thereof, I think, was very apparent. No matter what happened throughout the game. Now, I will give the kid credit. He came in and delivered a good throw on that two-point conversion, which obviously made that game a little bit different for Oklahoma down the stretch. So I think, the discussion will be, me personally, we'll get into this as well. I would be surprised, barring injury or barring just incredibly bad play by Caleb Williams, if Spencer Rattler actually plays another meaningful down, at least this year, for Oklahoma, because I think there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. Granted, Oklahoma's offensive line played really, really well down the stretch in the second half, but you have a little bit of a limitation in terms of the offensive line, and I think Caleb Williams' elusiveness, his ability to run, gives defenses something else that they have to think about. So I think that I think that helps, gives Oklahoma a little bit of a better opportunity to be successful. And I think about, you see the offensive line pass blocking was really, really solid in the second half, and I think there's something to that. I think Spencer Rattler has all the skills and all the tools to be a great quarterback for Oklahoma. But there's one thing that you think about with a lot of these kids that are great 4-star, 5-star players. Does he have it? Does he have the intangibles? Does he have what he needs to have to be able to lead a team to win a national championship, perhaps? And I think and I think he's just not that. He's just not that quarterback. He's just not that guy. He doesn't have that built in to him. So I think what you maybe lose from some experience from going from Spencer Rattler to Caleb Williams, and it is something that you obviously gain in terms of leadership. You gain in terms of his ability to run. I think you gain in terms of just what he brings to the overall psyche of this team for Oklahoma. So would be absolutely shocked if, first and foremost, if Caleb Williams doesn't get to start against TCU. But again, just like I said, barring injury or barring a situation where Caleb just really, really struggles, certainly would not see Rattler again in the near future. And I would be shocked, would be surprised. I know he's making tons of money right now in kind of the NIL deals. And there's been a lot of rumors around going that Rattler early on in the season was out partying and doing some things for 4 to 5 days a week. Not sure what the legitimacy of those are. And I think the one it looks like maybe that's why a lot of the students were booing him and asking for asking for Caleb there in the West Virginia game, just because of that. These students are very close with these football players, obviously. I mean, in close proximity and things like that. So I think I think that's something that there was something to that. And then obviously, I think Riley made the right decision. Obviously, I know he said in the post game it was a tough decision. I don't really think it was. Obviously after the long touchdown run, he puts Spencer Rattler back in again. Anthony makes another just bad play and trying to almost an exact replica of what he made a year ago in this game. So yeah, I think you have your quarterback of the future and you have your quarterback now. I think tons of great things that you can take away from Caleb Williams. Him moving around in the pocket, finding guys, and Marvin Mims making just two astronomically impressive plays. You've seen a lot of the kids that have got, either individually or as a group, some of these kids that have been maligned a little bit earlier in the year. Marvin Mims is one of those who just played outstanding. 5 catches, 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. Best game of the year, I think, for my money, based on the type of catches that he made and how big they were for Oklahoma. Best game of his career, no doubt whatsoever. So going into this game, and I'm not sure how you guys as a fan base, kind of looked at this. Oklahoma was 5-0, but you were 5-0 and you weren't very impressive. And certainly the first half wasn't impressive. Oklahoma finally put it together and played complementary football in the second half and outscored Texas. I think it was 35-10. So I think, for me, just being transparent with you guys and watching, I didn't have a lot of faith and a lot of confidence in this team being a team that would be able to get to a national championship game, win a national championship as well. So I'm starting to change my tune based on what I saw here in the second half. I think Oklahoma has the talent. I felt like there was some problems internally with this team, but they found a way. It looks like I think it looks like Caleb Williams was maybe the glue to that, where he came through. Now I think on the we've credited Caleb Williams a couple of things that he needs to remember. His check downs a lot. There was a couple of times where Eric Gray, Kennedy Brooks, and just some of those short receivers, either out of the backfield or short intermediate routes were open. He missed them, but something that you would certainly expect as a true freshman, playing his first meaningful actual snaps as a quarterback. But yeah, there's no, and he'll get better with that. You got to absolutely think that he'll get better with that. And I think certainly you have him as a guy that's going to lead this team for the rest of the season. Offensive line still work in progress. They were obviously better, specifically in the second half. Run blocking, pass blocking was more like what you would see an Oklahoma team. Obviously, you're not going to run for 300 yards every game, but Oklahoma's a team that needs to be 175, 200 at least area, for them to win, and for them to be successful. So Caleb Williams' stats: 16 out of 25, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 4 carries, 88 yards, and a touchdown. About as good as a performance as you could ask for in a situation like this. So those are my immediate thoughts. I think maybe a season changer could be a big difference maker for Oklahoma. They've got some opportunities here. Hosting TCU next week. TCU's reeling a little bit, a couple of losses in a row. And then you go to Kansas, and then you host Texas Tech. So an opportunity here to get your record to 9-0, and then you go to Baylor, a team that is playing really well. And I think there's some comments here about maybe Oklahoma plays Baylor in a Big 12 championship game. So a lot of way to go. Oklahoma still has an opportunity. I think they'll absolutely move up. They'll you certainly would expect them to jump the loser of Penn State and Iowa at this point. Cincinnati was pretty impressive the other night, but again, Cincinnati's a team. I think they deserve a shot at a playoff game, but let's see how the rest of the season goes for Oklahoma. So, like I said, you got you got two out of your next three at home, and then you have Kansas and Texas Tech, which you feel like you have not lay down games, specifically Texas Tech by any means, but you still have a chance to improve and get better, and that's what this team needs to do right now. They're you feel like you hope going forward that they've hit their stride here in the second half against a really good Texas team. I thought this team was really good. Kind of going into this game, and nothing has deterred me. I think Oklahoma just played incredibly well. One of the games I would have loved to have been in the stands in the second half, particularly that fourth quarter. I've heard just kind of some people on Twitter talk about just how incredibly loud and just how good the crowd was there in the second half. So for my money, best game that I've seen, best Red River game, one of the best games I've ever seen as well. So give me lots of comments and questions, and we'll get to them. If you have any questions, please feel free. Another defensively, I thought Danny Stutzman was outstanding at the linebacker position, played really well, got a sack there late in the game. I think you'll see him in the in the linebacker in the starting lineup. I would be shocked. Of course, he wasn't starting today, partially probably because coach is not really sure how he would be after that. After the injury out a couple of weeks, but I think I think you'll see him more. I think we'll see a little bit more Latrell McCutcheon specifically there before Woody Washington gets back. I'm not sure when he'll be back yet, but yeah, no, I think you're incredibly excited. I've never seen a game where I was questioning whether or not we would get blown out of the field, blown out of the stadium, versus how well Oklahoma played there in the second half as well. So a lot of heart. Gives these kids a lot of credit. They could have rolled over a little bit, down 28-7 there. So I think you're very, very excited. If you're a fan, I think much more optimistic after some of the teams that they've beaten. Not convincingly, but then you've got the best team that you have played this year, and I think arguably is going to be the best team that Oklahoma plays through this season in terms of the regular season. I know we've got some tough road games at Baylor, at Oklahoma State as well. So let me hear your thoughts. Just overall, this game, how does this catapult Oklahoma for the rest of the season as well? So I think Danny's question: when is the bye week? The bye week is between the Texas Tech home game and when Oklahoma goes to Baylor. So Oklahoma hosts Texas Tech on October the 30th, and then they have a week off, and then they go to Baylor on the 13th. Only one off week this year, and I think that comes at about a pretty perfect time there. And then you got that, but they've got three really tough games in a row to end the season. When you go to Baylor, you host Iowa State, and then you go to Oklahoma State. So three really tough games there towards the end. But it puts Oklahoma in position to do a lot of good things here down the stretch for Oklahoma. Dan Adams, thanks for the comment here. Caleb Williams and Kenny Brooks, players of the game on offense, entire defensive front, and Caleb Kelly, defensive player of the game. How good do you feel for Caleb Kelly? It's and these are the things that just kind of watching this game bring a little bit of a tear to my eye. Just watching how well he played, just getting that fumble and really just kind of taking the ball away from Worthy on that kickoff return. It was just phenomenal for that kid. How much he's had to go through in his career. The amount of adversity and still be in a position to make a game-winning play for Oklahoma in that at the time, at least for that, I think gives him some confidence and just such a feel-good story for that kid as well. The Cotton Bowl always provides a chance for the legend to be born. Absolutely right. 80s, man, 84. It's, like I said, I mentioned Jason White before in 2001. I think that's really the best situation. I mean, obviously the Superman play is one of the best plays in the history of the rivalry, but Roy Williams was already a tremendous player, maybe a stepping off point for him. So it's definitely a great opportunity for a kid to play that well for as long as he did in that game. Shows you what kind of moxie the kid has. Tons of leadership, the entire fan base and the entire team rallied around him, and you could just tell. And I know this is hard for anybody that's a big Spencer Rattler fan or just Rattler himself hearing this, and I'm sure he's going to. And he sees that. He knew it before, but just the fact that how excited the rest of the team and the fan base was to rally around him is it's tough to see, but at the same time, he's had his opportunities, and now it's somebody else's opportunity to go play. Absolutely agree, Patrick. This is why I've said that this is the best rivalry in college football, and I think the reason, Patrick, I've always said that this is the best rivalry, and I know that there's some Alabama fans, you guys will feel differently on the Iron Bowl, and there's some great rivalries out there, but just the uniqueness of this rivalry is something that for me it is always made it the best. The splitting the team, the fans down the middle. Is something that's very unique. The state fairs, the backdrop is very unique, and then just obviously the neutral site is unique as well. But there's so many things about this game that make it incredibly unique, and I think obviously a lot of us here are jaded for that, but I definitely feel like this is the best rivalry in college football. So. I'll just take a break here. I'm glad you guys are bringing it. We've got like 140 people live on the chat here, so happy to be here. The best win of the season obviously would bring the most people in, and I think our man Mark Rogers came in here and dropped a comment. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate you, brother. So. I think Billy Bowman wasn't bad in coverage as well, and a couple of times he got beat. And I think the one thing that we have to remember is Xavier Worthy, true freshman, one of the biggest recruits that Texas has had on the offensive side of the ball here recently. Initially was committed to Michigan, then came to Texas. Great player. So I think the one thing that you still struggle with if you're Oklahoma, I think probably for me the biggest concern on the defensive side of the ball is really pass coverage. I mean, when you look at Casey Thompson, 20 out of 34, 388 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. So, he was able to he played really well. I think Bijan Robinson was held to 137 yards. I say held. He was at like 100, either 100 or 110 at halftime. So Oklahoma limited him to less than 40 yards in the second half. But Xavier Worthy, 9 catches, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. Oklahoma didn't have an answer for him. And they're going to be playing some very good receivers here in the Big 12. He might be one of the best, but Oklahoma has to shore up their secondary a little bit better, in terms of how they play. Let's see. Nelson expressed the freshman D are playing to their potential, and Caleb Kelly will coach here one day. I think that's great, Nelson. Absolutely, wouldn't be surprised at all to see that. And I think your point is very well taken. The freshman D are playing to their potential. I mentioned I mentioned Latrell McCutcheon got beat a couple of times, but at the same time, as a freshman, he's gonna learn from that. He's going to be better. And I think those are some really good, valuable lessons that he'll get. For Jaden Davis, there's no there's no excuse. He's been in the program for a while, and they just continually went after him over and over and over again. And maybe inserting McCutcheon, you see the bad plays, but maybe you don't see some of the good plays where he was good in coverage. And I think one of the things over the last 2.5 games, I don't see anyone throwing anywhere near DJ Graham's area. So DJ Graham has played really well on one side of the field, and just got to shore that up a little bit on the other side of the field. But I think they'll have the opportunity to get better without a doubt. Um, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think this is definitely the best ending since Baylor a few years ago, where Oklahoma was down. You guys can correct me. I feel like it was 28-3, maybe 31-3 at one point, and came back and won that game. So yeah, I agree. I think that was been the last time um, as well. So let's look at see some of your comments here. Um, let's see. Dan Addo, yeah, absolutely agree. He has the it factor. Um, I think he'll be a difference maker, obviously, for this team, not just today, but going forward. I mean, you think about him. You've got 2.5 more years with him at Oklahoma. So um, I think having that experience will, and then the experience that he has for the remainder of the year will only carry him and make him much better. I mean, I think you could see his leadership ability just on the recruiting trail. He talked about how much what he was going to try to do to bring, um, other kids here to the University of Oklahoma, and he was able to do that a little bit from a recruiting perspective. But now, I think having them here, he's a guy that the whole team, not just the offense, but the whole team can rally around. And you could see exactly how that was when so many players, came and rallied around him not only after that first touchdown, but continuously throughout the game. Um, yeah, so Brian, better never. Absolutely. I think this game should always stay at the state fair, regardless. I mean, I know that some people don't like just the stadium and just how outdated it is a little bit at certain times, but I think it's something that you could um, never move away from. So, um, yeah, so I don't have a TV where I'm at here in our room, so you guys will have to let me know how some of these games are going. I know Auburn was up on Georgia 3-0 at one point, but I don't know um, exactly where that's at right now. Either that or the Iowa Penn State game. Yeah, he got exposed. I mean, it was constant, and Sark's a really good play caller, excellent, one of the best in the country, and he saw that matchup, and he continually went to it over and over and over again. So, yeah, no, I don't think you'll see him as much, at least early on. Yeah, I mean, I think there was some discussion after the first game of the year about how the endorsement deals and everything that Rattler was doing for NIL was making him so much money and maybe pulling him away from the team, from a little bit of time perspective. And so I think other teams see that. Other players see that, and especially if to a certain extent, if you're not sharing the wealth, type of situation. So yeah, I think that kind of became more of a priority for him, and maybe he's set now. I don't know if he transfers. I mean, I think if he does decide to transfer, conventional wisdom probably sees him going out west somewhere in in the California, Arizona area. But yeah, no, I think, and again, you never know what's going to happen down the stretch, but I think this team and coaching staff and fan bases fully behind Caleb Williams without a doubt. Linebacker play is sketchy. Yeah, I think the linebacker play has been pretty bad. I think that's one of the biggest areas. I think Stutzman in there at the linebacker and the linebacking core really helps a lot. I think you've got two solid linebackers in Stutzman and Brian Asamoah, but um, Deshaun White struggles a little bit. Just moving laterally. Um, I think. And I think you see Shane Witter there at times, who's really struggles as well. So, um, could our QB situation this year resemble Alabama's when Tua took over for us? I think that's fair. The one thing that I think about, and that's a good comparison, David. The other thing I think about is in his true freshman year, Trevor Lawrence at Clemson. I'm the guy's name's escaping me right now. I got it on the tip of my tongue. Who was the start of the previous year and started the first few games, and then Trevor Lawrence came through, almost midway through the season, and took that job over. I think you'll see a very similar thing here. And the thing about Caleb is, I think he kind of gets notoriety for his legs, but that ball was humming off of his hand today. He was spinning it big time, and I think he's the perfect threat for Lincoln Riley's offense. His offense is really um, predicated um, on having a dual threat quarterback and just having that threat. And I think that's one of the things that's going to make this offense so much better. He'll be able to capitalize off of some of the maybe some of the inefficiencies of the offensive line. Yeah, Eric, absolutely. Super, super thrilled for that kid. And I think one of the things that and what I take from it, Eric, is last year was a confusing and tough year for everybody, and absolutely don't blame him for opting out if he thinks that's what was certainly best for him. But I think, um, having the struggles that he's had all year, and really just him almost each and every play you see to how much he has to do to elude people in the hole. But I think the one thing that you saw a little bit more in the second half is, he wasn't getting touched on a few occasions until 3 or 4 yards down the stretch, and um, he just made a ton of plays, and he's got incredible vision. One of the best running backs that Oklahoma has had in terms of vision. He's not going to wow you with speed. He's not going to wow you, with his athletic ability. But he does hardly ever does the first guy ever tackle him, and he makes so many guys miss. And he played really well for Oklahoma today. And I think hopefully this is a sign of things to come, and maybe Eric Gray's a good change of pace back. And Eric Gray wasn't terrible today for Oklahoma. 6 carries for 37 yards. I mean, that's good. 8.3 yards per carry. Think about that for Oklahoma. Oklahoma hasn't been anywhere near that this year. I'd have to pull up the stats just to see how many rushing yards Oklahoma has had in the team. At the very least, I think Oklahoma had half as many as they has had for the entire season today for Oklahoma. So yeah, incredible job by everybody there in the second half. Danny Callahan, absolutely agree. Let's go to his head, money and all. And I don't know if there's any truth to that kind of theory about him, out partying and worrying more about other things than playing football. But maybe it makes sense if kind of the team wasn't as as much behind him as you would expect. Travis, thanks for the comment. Yeah, I think it is a different situation. Right. I think it's a different situation in terms of Rattler getting benched because of bad play. But I think you could make the argument, Travis, that Jalen Hurts got benched because of bad play there in that game against who did they? Oh, that was against Georgia in the national championship game. Didn't No points in the first half of that national championship game. Saban inserted to it, and that's kind of where it went from there. So very similar situations. Obviously, the bad play, I think, to your point, Travis, was worse for Rattler than it was for Jalen Hurts at Alabama. But still, I think that the point is well made on both sides. Um, let's see here. Let's see, what else do we have? Going through all the comments, you guys are letting it go so quickly here. Caleb Williams looks like he has a natural, natural born leader. Nature. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm reading this wrong. Sorry. Has the nature of a born leader. His body language, his demeanor. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think he's much closer to and you'll see him gain a little bit of confidence in his leadership ability. So I think you saw it today, but I think he'll be even more boisterous. I think look for a kind of in between a Kyler and a Baker Mayfield in terms of, I think Kyler was more of a leader with his play on the field, and Baker was obviously more of an emotional leader. The best, I think, for me, I would say Baker is the best leader in the history of college football. Maybe that doesn't always have the best talent, but I think he was one of the best leaders in all of college football. So Georgia 17-3. Okay, thanks for the update there. Penn State 7-3. Okay, great. You might be right. Return trip. Good thought there. Caleb got an NIL deal in the fourth quarter. Wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. I would like to get. Yeah, no, and I think it was warranted. I mean, I think you could have made a case where Riley could have put in Caleb Williams a couple of games back just to see, uh, just for a change or something like that. But it does concern you a little bit, and I don't want to completely, and I'm not throwing Lincoln Riley under the bus, but it concerns you a little bit. Does he have just in terms of his ability to read the room? I mean, you've had to have known that that Caleb Williams had the support of the locker room, and it took him to get. I think the good thing that you've seen from Oklahoma so far, obviously, other than being 6-0, is you in the past. Oklahoma has found ways to lose games, not only like this, but lose games before now. And the fact that Oklahoma has made a decision and has gone on the other side of it, and you have and you have a team that's undefeated right now. So you still have all of your goals in front of them. So, um, yeah, I think it's interesting, Alexis. I mean, I think the one thing that I'll give Riley, and I don't know if he put Rattler in just to kind of help him in terms of either declaring for the NFL or moving on to another team or whatever it ends up being. But putting him in there and that for that second down or that for that 2-point conversion, and him delivering a solid pass and getting the 2-point conversion maybe help save his career a little bit from that perspective. So we'll see. Kid has a lot to learn on and off the field. I think he's, and I'll still stand by what I said. Best arm talent of any quarterback that Oklahoma has had. Even Caleb Williams can spin it, but I think Rattler when he's right, just great arm talent. I think it's just up here more than anything. I think his leadership ability is and look, I told you guys before, I coach high school basketball. I love people. I love kids that play with emotion, play with emotions on their sleeve. Love leadership, and that's something that Rattler just doesn't do. And maybe it's not in him. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't do that. But I think maybe that's just not the type of player he is. But but Caleb Williams absolutely has that, without a doubt. Yep, Ryan, you read my mind. I don't know if this comment came in before my point, but yeah, definitely agree. Very Baker-ish leadership ability, without a doubt. Um, yeah, I think so, Farva. I think that's a very good point. And for those of you that haven't watched that QB1, I mean, you can go back and look at it. I think it's still on there. Didn't look real good. You thought that maybe that it was just a one-time bad decision and Rattler would learn from it, but not that he's done anything to that at that nature, but he has, not done what he needs to do off the field to ingratiate himself to this team, without a doubt. Let's see. I think that's right now. I think that's fair. I mean, at the very least, not as high as he had intended on being and wanted to be um, at this point. So, I mean, kind of depends on. I think he could. He's still got some time to rejuvenate his career. I like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he transfers. I mean, we'll see how quickly it happens. I mean. Um, Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the kid's gonna have to grow up a little bit. He's not as grown as he needs to be right now, but he'll have to, whether it's sticking out here, whether it's going to the NFL, or whether it's going to another team, whatever he ends up doing, and who knows, he could be a kid where knock on wood, something happens to Caleb Williams, or whatever, a sickness or whatever, he might still be counted on to make some plays for Oklahoma. Look at Trevor Knight. When he didn't transfer immediately. He stuck it out and he had to play in one game when Baker Mayfield was had that concussion. Again, I'm trying to remember who he had the concussion against, but Trevor Knight had to play that game against TCU and found the way. Didn't play great, but found the way to win. So he's still got to stay dialed in. I think for this team. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Uh, I think that's the area probably of biggest concern for me, is just the secondary play right now. I think you can mask some of that, and maybe Grinch kind of goes more to pressuring the ball in terms of more more exotic blitzes, more pressure, even on non prototypical third down and long passing type plays. But yeah, I think that's yeah, no, Patrick, I agree. Latrell got burned too. I think the one thing that you're where I'm at is Jaden. I believe Jaden Davis is a either a junior or a sophomore. He's been in the program for 3 years, so I think it's a little bit more excusable for a true freshman than it is a kid that's been in the system and played a lot of football for Oklahoma, without a doubt, Patrick. Kelly Bryant, yes, thanks for the. That was the kid from Clemson. Ended up transferring to Missouri, but I think that's the kid that I was thinking about. Grinch rotates too much in the secondary. We don't have that kind of depth to do that. I mean, not at this point, not quality depth. I agree with you. I think the entire fan base and the team might revolt if Caleb Williams doesn't start against TCU. I would say there's less than 1% chance that Spencer Rattler starts the TCU game, and I think he. I think you see Rattler transfer. I mean, I don't know if it's in his best interest to transfer right now. I think he needs to finish out the season. Like I said, who knows? Um, who knows how much he plays? Or really that. But I think it sends a better message to NFL scouts down the road. I think it sends a better message to other teams that are looking at him, just in terms of his emotional state. If you transfer like immediately, let's just say for example, the next within the next couple of weeks, he puts himself in the transfer portal. I think that shows a lot about his unwillingness to continue to compete for his job. So I think for him, he probably should stay for the rest of the year. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, he'll probably end up transferring. Definitely agree for 4 or 5 boy. I think he'll get better. I think you to a certain extent, I mean, you don't want him out there on an island continuously, play after play, game after game. But I think, um, but I think he'll get a lot better. To your point, I would be extremely surprised, Trapper. I mean, I would be extremely surprised. I mean, there's one thing if you find a way to win a game and then Caleb Williams doesn't play very well, but 16 out of 25, 212 yards. He's got 300 all-purpose yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Didn't even get really close to a turnover. I get the only thing that you could say is maybe a couple of times he's kept his eyes off the snap a little bit and has fumbled the snap, but he doesn't panic. He makes great plays, and so I don't think any scenario where you see Rattler in the game, especially coming back home, these fans will go absolutely berserk if Spencer Rattler starts. Um, let's see here. Um, I just no, there's no way. I can't even see a situation where outside of an injury where Rattler can even play anymore. Yep, very smooth. Yeah, both. I mean, just great. I mean, at some point, there's in some of these games, you just throw this up and hope your guy can go make a play, and that's what he did in a couple of those plays. And Marvin Mims went and made the play. I mean, definitely. Um, hey Jay, so we've addressed it a few times here. If you've missed it, feel free to go back and watch. Um, Sorry about that. Um, Go back and watch what we've. Sorry, I'm having computer issues here. My apologies. Go back and watch our stream earlier on, and we talked a lot about Jaden Davis really getting burnt all day, missing tackles. Missing tackles was a big theme of this game very early on in the game, um, and even to a certain extent throughout the entire game. But tackled much better in the second half. But yeah, got burnt all day, missed tackles, and I think he's a guy that will continue to he'll play, but I think he's got to get a lot better. And I think you look for an opportunity for him to, maybe play a little bit more in terms of Latrell McCutcheon in place of Jaden Davis. I wonder if Rattler front. Yeah, and I think that's part of it. I just think he just doesn't have. Excuse me. He just doesn't have all the intangibles that you need for a team that you need that has national championship aspirations. When things get rough, and he just panics a little bit. So um, let's see. Yeah, we're not seeing last year's Rattler plays like he is drugged or something. Yeah, I think there's just a lot that you're saying, Joshua. I mean, he's very indecisive. He was pretty, I think he was in the 75% completion percentage rate, and um, he wasn't accurate today. He was, miscommunication with Stogner a couple of times. He was, and then he turned the ball over twice, almost turned the ball over a third time on that tip pass. I mean, luckily the pass got tipped as he threw it well behind Stogner and probably would have been intercepted for his third turnover. So, yeah, no, I think he's not the same kid. I don't know if it's NIL. I don't know if it's something else that's going on with him, but he's definitely Not the same player without a doubt. Yep, agree, Joshua. I think Trapper, you're going to be. I don't know if you're hoping for Rattler to start, but I think, or just what you think that Riley's going to do. But there's no way that you can possibly start him again. There's no way. Um, so Sam's kind of jumping on the Trapper bandwagon here. Is going to be the program works. Caleb did good. If Rattler don't get his stuff together, he'll be in should soon. No chance. I'll come in here and I'll come on here next week and tell you I was wrong, but I would be I would be almost willing to bet my next paycheck that that Rattler starts or that Caleb Williams will start. I mean, there's no reason why you don't start him. You know, if you're willing to put him in this game and this type of environment, and he came in with Oklahoma down significantly, and you know he finds a way to he wills them back to a win. So, you know, you're down 21 points in this game. No way he doesn't start. Thanks, Rachel. I got you. I appreciate that. Um, I can't let the fan base make the decisions. So, Trevor, you need to help me out here. I mean, there has to be something that you're seeing that I'm not, or no one else is in here is seeing. You know, even if the fan base didn't necessarily like Caleb Williams, I mean, the proof's in the play here. I mean, Caleb Williams played like a veteran, and you know, I'm not saying that Spencer Rattler is truly a veteran, but you know, he's played enough games in which he shouldn't be making these decisions and making these plays. Like communication issues shouldn't be happening this this long into not only his career but this season. You're halfway through the season and you're still having communication issues with your wide receivers or tight ends. Come on now, that can't happen. Absolutely can't happen. Latrell Mack is great, but sure got beat. At least he was there. Yep, and I think he tackled well. You know, I know that he was bad in a couple of coverage situations, but he did tackle well. Patrick Lang is thinking an early start Caleb, but use Rattler in certain situations. I mean, I could see that. I mean, I could see that happening maybe in certain situations from time to time, but um, yeah, it wouldn't be too far out of the realm of possibility. So I challenge you guys to get us to 100 today. We're at 166 currently. It'd be awesome for one of the best Red River rivalries of all time if we could get up to 200 people on this chat at the same time. That would be really, really awesome. Um, so get us there. Share, like, subscribe, tweet, copy the link, tweet it out, all this stuff. Let's see. Rattler hasn't looked good all season. I think he's had enough chances. I agree. Boomer Sooners, Caleb. It's Caleb's team now. I think it has to be. You can't. I don't think you can. You can't put him in right now. Oh, I'm glad I was wrong about Brooks. Looked great out there. Finally gets one of the big boy teams. Yeah, Brooks was outstanding today. Ran the best that he's ran all year. Helps that you have some of those guys, you know, blocking for you in a really good and strong way. But yeah, absolutely. He went Caleb second half, and look what happened. Rachel's on point. Appreciate you, Rachel. That's I think. Jesse, again, help me out. It's bizarre that we've got this is like the third person that has mentioned what did you possibly see from Rattler today, and what did you see from not see from Caleb Williams that leads you to believe that Rattler should be the team's starting quarterback. I just I'm befuddled. I just need to understand. Um, I don't think this team gets any better with Rattler starting. You have a chance to completely lose this team if Rattler starts the next game, outside of some kind of injury situation. The team has obviously bailed on him, and so they don't want him to be the starter. You've got to go with the team. Whatever the team wants, the team should get in this situation. Let's see. What else do we have here? What, um, let's see. Defensively, OU defense 10 points allowed second half. Yeah, I think they played great. I think Rachel gets the MVP today of the chat. She's smoking. Appreciate you joining in, Rachel. Let's see. Rattler never went to his false. I'll blame someone else. That's the one thing. Like leadership, eye-opening leadership. When you have the national stage, you see some stuff like that, and very evident on a couple of occasions. Timeouts. Rattler was nowhere to be found. Was just basically sitting on the sidelines pouting the entire time. So I think he's again. I mean, there's nothing that would lead me to believe that he should be playing. This game shows Oklahoma will get blown out in the college football playoffs. I mean, I think right now where they're at, I think defensively they're not quite ready, but I think they've got an opportunity, definitely. You haven't heard that. I mean, that'll do it to you. Obviously, that'll lose your focus without a doubt. 100%. Trapper, I'm not hoping. It's what I think Riley will do. Caleb starts and has a bad game. It could set him back. I still think you got to go with the guy that gives you the best chance to win and that the team rallies around. I don't completely not see your point in terms of some of the things that Riley has done in the past, not having a quick trigger, but completely disagree with that. Sandusky, do not think they will be low to bottom SEC teams. I mean, first of all, you have to look at the middle tier of the SEC this year. I think Texas is better than Texas A&M. I think Oklahoma is better than Texas A&M. I think Oklahoma would be competitive with Arkansas, would be competitive with Ole Miss. Obviously, Georgia and Alabama are ahead of the rest of the country by a significant margin. But the rest of the SEC this year, I think Oklahoma and Texas, for that matter, would compete admirably against. I don't think they could take a second fiddle. I would argue that maybe middle. I mean, I think Oklahoma third or fourth best team in the SEC. Texas right there with them. Mike Woods from Arkansas. He's very good looking. He's definitely not on CD Lamb's level just yet, Patrick, but he makes some outstanding plays. And I think looking at his, he's got, he only had the 2 catches, almost made another astronomical catch on the sideline, just couldn't completely bring it in. But yeah, no, I think he's fine. He's good. You'll be fine in the SEC. Texas will be how Nebraska has been in the Big 12. Possibly. That's possible. Oklahoma gives up 48 points against a weak Texas team, and they act like they win. So I will push back a little bit. I think so. Texas has played much better since that Arkansas game. Obviously, they kind of got their they got it handed to them a little bit in that Arkansas game. They got out physicaled, but I think they're a much better team from them. Obviously from their perspective, they would probably say, they didn't finish the game here in the second half. It didn't play well in the second half, but I would say from Oklahoma's perspective, you would say that they took it. So obviously they got to get better next week. Continuously get better and better. But I think um, I'm not saying that this is a weak Texas team by any stretch. Um, no, you're right. Caleb McRae gave us a spark. Absolutely, Big 12 is overrated. I don't know. That's the first thing saying that I haven't disagreed with, and I don't know that they're overrated. It's not one of the best conferences in the country. I think when you look at, obviously the SEC is the best football conference in the country right now, and it's not even close. And Big Ten, and no, maybe not even close. I think Big Ten is pretty solid as well. When you look at Penn State, when you look at Iowa, when you look at obviously Ohio State's playing much better now as well. So I think you're pretty good. You're really top heavy on both sides, and I think you've got, the Big 12, and the Pac-12 and the ACC right there. I think you could probably make a case that the Big 12 is maybe the third best conference this year, if not then the fourth for sure. Let's see. Jesse, if you were the OUQB making all this NIL money, I think part of that, you've seen a lot of these kids, what they've done, in terms of like sharing that with the rest of the team. I think there's been some teams that have, or some quarterbacks that have had NIL deals, like at a restaurant or something like that, where they've, taken their offensive line to go do that. So yeah, I think there's something to that. Uh, and I think maybe that's where Rattler's missing the mark. And it just all comes down to leadership. No other. I think the biggest contribution is this leadership as well. This week, Texas New Brandon has arguably the best running back. I agree with that um, as well. I can't wait to see the recruiting when these two teams. Oh yeah, the recruiting will definitely go up without a doubt. I think going to the SEC will help that. Let's see. And yeah, I'm with you, Taylor. I feel bad for the kid, and that's why I kind of mentioned this at the beginning of the broadcast today, that I didn't want to necessarily just trample on the kid's grave because, and I know he's getting it from everyone, and it's hard to see, your job being taken away from you, and not playing well, and all these things, but. Yeah, I think there was a lot of expectations that he was going to be the next greatest quarterback at the University of Oklahoma, or next great quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. You know, number one pick, possibly at least one of the first quarterbacks taken first round, shoe in, Heisman Trophy leader, all that stuff, and it's really kind of all gone by the wayside for sure. Let's see. Rattler is gone. I think, you can make an argument. Obviously, Bijan Robinson is a better player, but he did outplay Bijan Robinson in the second half. I would agree with that. 405. Christopher Gray on the Big 12 being overrated. Why are we leaving? I think it's more financial than anything. I think just a competitive balance as well, I think is crucial. And I think, on the field, you look at, I think playing in the SEC gives Oklahoma a better opportunity to know exactly what they need to do to win some of these playoff games, right? Because they've not they've won the Big 12, consistently year after year the last 6 years. So, but they've not put themselves in a position to win a playoff game. Maybe the SEC makes you a little bit more battle tested, just in terms of your ability to go win a national championship. And then off the field, I think it's very clear that the financial impact of this is Oklahoma's going to make almost double the amount of money in the SEC that they are and would be making in the Big 12. So I think from both of those perspectives, it's pretty much a no-brainer without a doubt. Let's see. The QB coming in 23 will blow Caleb Williams away. We don't know that at this point, Joshua. I mean, you could say that, but you don't know. We don't know how these kids are going to play when they when they make it to campus. Who knows? Steve Ramil, your assessment of Billy Bowman's play thus far. I think he's been okay. Not terrible. I don't think he's not great. But he's a true freshman. I mean, I think he's a guy that probably hasn't been pushed by some of the other kids. I think Jeremiah Cordell's kind of been hurt / in the doghouse, so he hasn't been pushed as hard as probably he needs to be. So, but I don't think he's been bad. I think he'll get better as he gets more experience, and I think tackling an open field a couple of times was a challenge. I think his coverage at times was a challenge, but he's there. He's still playing. I think he's going to be a really good player for Oklahoma. Some of these times you have to get through some of the growing pains early on. I mean, Andrew Rame's a perfect example. He was getting the crap kicked out of him in the first half of this game. Second half, played much better. Have to go back and look at the tape a little bit more. But yeah, played much better in the second half for Oklahoma. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Let's see if do you have any questions about anything? A lot of discussion about Rattler and Caleb Williams, which I expected it to be. Any questions about anything else? The rest of the season, any other games? One of the things to think about here is that West Virginia, to me, I thought was one of the best teams in the Big 12 prior to us playing them, and then after us playing them, and then they played, they played really bad over the last few games. When you look at today, they got handled pretty easily by Baylor, 45-20. So they're kind of a light slate in the Big 12 today. You've got obviously Baylor winning that game. Then you got TCU at Texas Tech tonight. Should be interesting. Oklahoma could be playing against TCU, losing three straight, which I'm not sure how you feel about that. But then next week another some really, really good games. Iowa State goes to Kansas State. BYU goes to Baylor. Obviously, a little bit of an out-of-conference game. And then Oklahoma State goes to Texas. I think right now you could say that Oklahoma State might be the second best team in the Big 12 right now, behind Oklahoma. But I think that'll be interesting to see, exactly how that goes, how that game goes, and how the rest of the conference season shakes out. So looking at the rest of the country right now, Boise's beating BYU by 10 at half. That's a little bit of a shocker. Syracuse is up on Wake Forest 21-17. SMU and Navy are tied at 21 at the half. North Carolina is one of those teams that was really supposed to be, possibly a top 5 team, top 10 team, but they're getting beat at home 21-10 by Florida State. Don't really understand that at all. Penn State 17-3 on Iowa. It's going to set up a monumental game if Penn State can kind of hold on between them and Ohio State. I don't know if that game is next week. Let me look. 2 weeks. No, actually 3 weeks. Sorry, on the 30th. Um, so yeah, um, interesting game tonight with Alabama and Texas A&M and College Station. Do they have enough to win? So that'll be interesting to see um, as well. So let's see. We'll go through some more questions that you had here. Was a word that's a team that Rattler wasn't working hard enough, and I don't know if it's that he wasn't working hard enough, but he was so. It looks like he was worried about other things other than what was on the field, whether it's partying, NIL, girlfriend, stuff like that. Maybe he wasn't as focused as he needed to be. Um, the thing with Spencer, my man Monty Cisco, thanks for joining, brother. I appreciate you. The thing with Spencer is there's a thin line between being cocky or arrogant, and whichever one you truly are will claw its way. That's extremely well said, Monty, and I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's easy to be cocky and easy to be arrogant when you're playing really well and when you back it up on the field. However, when you get into a situation where you are not playing well and you can't back it up, then it makes you kind of look silly. And I think you're spot on in terms of that, Monty. Absolutely, definitely looked more like the OU offense without a doubt. And Oklahoma had like almost 700 yards of total offense in this game. It's hard to believe based on how they started. 662 yards of total offense in this game for Oklahoma. As I mentioned, 339 on the ground, 323 through the air. It's exactly what you want to see. Exactly what you want to see. This is a great question, Jesse, and I think part of it Cincinnati's going to need some help because let's look at this holistically from a playoff perspective. I think right now the way things look, you have to assume that Georgia and Alabama are likely. It's not set in stone, obviously, but they're likely to go into that SEC championship game undefeated, with the winner obviously being the number one seed and the loser still being in the playoffs. And then you think you probably have um, at least one spot for the Big Ten, whether it be Penn State or Iowa or Ohio State. I think the thing going against Penn State and Ohio State um, is you probably only get one of those two. Let's say if you're, because it's going to be hard for you to lose that game and still not make it to the conference championship game and still make the playoffs this year. So I think if you're Cincinnati, you're obviously rooting for some chaos. I think in a perfect world, you're rooting for, for Penn State to probably you're rooting for Penn State to beat Iowa today, rooting for maybe Penn State to beat Ohio State in a couple of weeks, and then maybe Iowa beating them in the conference championship game. Um, and I think the other thought is the Big 12. Obviously, if Oklahoma's undefeated, they're making the playoffs. I think a one loss. I think a Cincinnati may go in over a one loss Oklahoma team, or let's just say a one loss Oklahoma State team, just for discussion purposes. So I think they have a much better chance than they did last year, but they still need some things to happen for them, without a doubt. I wonder how good Mordecai was. I think that's a good question, return trip, based on the way he's playing this year. Um, that's extremely valid. And I told you SMU and Navy are tied at 21. Mordecai's 20 out of 27, 248 yards, one touchdown, and one interception. He's still turning the ball over a little bit, but he leads the country in touchdown passes this year, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for the season. So, I think he's a perfect player for that level, kind of the group of 5 level. I don't know that he's necessarily good enough to, at the Power 5 side to lead you to a championship, but he is good I think he's good enough at the group of five, without a doubt. That's how it comes in. All he's done is lay an egg. Absolutely, Rachel. I'm taking it you're not the biggest Spencer Rattler fan in the world, based on what I'm seeing here. Happened to the D line play. We got beat a couple of times deep, but up front they were able to keep. Yeah, and I think that's the recipe for success for Oklahoma, because I think Alex Grinch needs to get to a point where you understand that you're not covering well in the back end, and you have to mask that by getting pressure. So obviously, if you're able to get pressure with your front four, then that's great. But if you're not able to get pressure, you need to bring some blitzes, and they did a majority of the time. I think Grinch's only mistake that he made really in the second half was, he went back to playing coverage a little bit more. On that last touchdown drive by Texas, and Casey Thompson had all day to throw, and so when he wasn't having all day to throw. But the thing that you give up, and I think there was a comment here, give up to Alex Grinch, is he made um, tons of changes at halftime. I think one of the things that you didn't see a ton of out of Mike Stoops in his career was he didn't make a ton of halftime adjustments. Specifically, a few years ago when they continued um, to get gashed against Ellinger in Texas, and you saw a defensive coordinator willing to make some changes here, but in Oklahoma did that. So I think you got to give him the credit there, absolutely. Rutherford, the Riley factor may have overhyped Rattler, two QBs, winning the Heisman and being the number one pick. I think that's partially true, Rod. I don't disagree with that. I mean, I do think that the way that Rattler finished the regular season last year gave many of us and a lot of us a hope that he would continuously even get better in the off season, and obviously early on in the season, but that's obviously not been the case. So maybe there's a little bit of truth to that, but I think there's a little bit of just, I mean, to your point, belief that he was going to be good. But I think there's some facts that kind of brought that forward as well. Um, Barring any injuries to Caleb, do you think Rattler has any chance to start? No. I'm going to be very quick with that and say no. I mean, the only thing that you could ever say is, if you get to a game here, Mr. John, where he is, where Caleb Williams is just not playing well, turning the ball over at a rapid rate, very much like Rattler did today. I mean, you could see a chance for him to get back in it, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Rattler has won 13 in a row until today. Not a bust, but OU fans are very spoiled. And I think I mean, right now, Oklahoma fans, that's how you win games, is great quarterback play. The defense isn't where you need them to be. So you have to have really good quarterback play. Oklahoma doesn't need to have good quarterback play. You need to have great quarterback play, and they just haven't had that this year. And I think you got much closer to what great quarterback play was with Caleb Williams. Do you ever think Rattler will play? I don't really, not any meaningful snaps outside of an injury, Chris. I don't see it. I think Caleb has this team right now. Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it's a controversy at this point, Mike. I think and Riley's not you're gonna see coach speak from him. So when you guys see some stuff on social media, see some quotes from him, um, expect to see him say, we haven't decided on the quarterback. He's not going to say Spencer Rattler's his guy. I think that would alienate too many people. But I think he is going to give everyone a ton of coach speak, and we'll see how it goes. I would be surprised if it's even a controversy at this point. Jesse Brown, who do you have as the top four at the end of the regular season? So it's interesting to me. I think I would give specifically in the Georgia Alabama discussion. I would give Georgia a little bit of the edge on defense right now. I think they're a much better. They're a little bit better of a defense than Alabama is. I think Alabama's a little bit more explosive on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't know for sure. I don't know if JT Daniels is playing today for Georgia. I doubt he is. Um, and Stetson Bennett's a decent quarterback. I don't think he wins you a championship. I think he's more in the lines of kind of a Jake Fromm type of situation, who's good but not great. So I think I definitely still have Georgia and Alabama in some situation as one of the best four. I think the way Ohio State is playing, I think you have Ohio State there, and I think the fourth one, kind of remains to be seen. You've got, like I said, you've got a Cincinnati here that has a really good win at Notre Dame. We'll see how that win continues to carry weight through the rest of the season. I think Oklahoma has an opportunity the way they played in the second half today. If we can keep that going, I think Oklahoma has a chance to be, in that top four. They got to keep playing. They got to keep getting better on offense. Caleb Williams still has to keep getting better as a quarterback, which he will. Defensive secondary needs to get better. Tackling needs to get better. So they need to do a lot of good things. However, I think Oklahoma has a better opportunity if they run the table. Absolutely, they're going to be in the playoffs in one of the top four. Having said that, Cincinnati is there right now, but I think that will probably falter a little bit based on based on the level of competition that they have. They have no top 25 opponents unless SMU is still undefeated and in the top 25 at that point. But I don't know how much SMU actually gets you. So I think what's working against them is their schedule down the stretch, and I think you're going to have Oklahoma with likely a top 25 Baylor, likely a top 25 Oklahoma State, and potentially a top 25 Iowa State, maybe at that point they get back in the top 25. So you've got three good wins that you'll get there. Then certainly whoever they end up playing in the Big 12 championship game, if they continue to win as well. So Williams and Rattler should fight bare knuckle. That was, that's better than some suggestions I've seen. So I won't completely say you're wrong, as long as Caleb Williams wins. The problem there is we have way too many close games against really bad teams. Rachel continues to be the MVP of the chat here, without a doubt. Roberto, do you think we'll lose to OSU? So Chris, I think here's what I said. Me and watching the game with my father today, before the game, I felt with just the way the team was playing, this team was closer to about 2 or 3 losses than I thought that they were closer to be undefeated. Now they've got me leaning a little bit in the other direction right now. I think I have more confidence in their ability to go undefeated. And this is so hard. Like, I would just be shocked, honestly, Chris. I mean, I know that there's some people in here that have said that they think Lincoln will put Rattler back in. I would just be beside myself and frustrated with the decision if that was to happen. Rattler, yep, I agree. Josh Eaton didn't see the field, I don't think, at all. And so I don't know. I mean, I got to thinking, commentary is like, at some point we have to feel like we have a better solution than Jaden Davis is in this game. Per Ryan Ebner on Twitter, looking right, says he's not ready to take it away. And exactly, you're not going to see it. I think internally, obviously, they'll make that decision early if they haven't made it already. But I think you won't see anything. He won't mention that at all. when the depth chart comes out, I fully expect a Caleb Williams or Spencer Rattler situation. I mean, he may surprise me, but Lincoln Riley is so close to the vest on these things that I sincerely doubt that he will make a decision. I would argue that this is a college team, not pro, and results and performances unpredictable. I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that question or to respond to that comment. I mean, it is a very unpredictable season, but I think, yeah, I don't know. It's been an unpredictable season, and you never know with college kids. But yeah. So let's talk to who Rattler has gotten hurt many times into. Chester, rephrase that question. I don't really even know what that means. How does Stogner, I assume you mean Rattler, has gotten hurt many times in 2 seasons? Yeah, sorry, I don't know what that means. We do. Yes, I can argue that being no UQB is the same playing golf. Yep. Let's see. Chester, I think Landry Jones 2.0 is absolutely on point. I've thought about this early. I thought about this early on in the season. I wanted to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but he has a lot of Landry Jones in him, just in terms of him making terrible decisions at the worst possible time. We need to celebrate the win, see how practice goes next week, and support whoever. Right. I get what you're saying, Trapper. In detail, I definitely see what you're saying, but I'm telling you, if number 7 trots out there with the starting lineup, you thought you heard boos against West Virginia. Wait till you see what happens. I'm guaranteeing. It almost would be funny just to see it happen, just to see the reaction. I mean, I don't think it will, but I think it would almost be hilarious just to see. I would bet you would hear the loudest chorus of boos that you've ever heard in that stadium if that was to happen. Barring injury, feel like Rattler's backup great win. I think yep. But John Robinson, he's an outstanding football player. Very, obviously you don't like to give a lot of Texas players credit, but he was completely agree with you. He was outstanding. And he's just one of the best players in the country. If not the best player in the country. So you guys are still bringing it with these comments. I can't even keep up. The receivers make Caleb look amazing. His presence was really good for a freshman. I think it was a little bit of both. Yeah, the receivers made some great plays for him, but he delivered those passes as well. I gotta say, game ball, absolutely. I would say Kennedy Brooks 1, Caleb Williams 2, and then offensive line 3. It was baffling, Brian. I mean, I was sitting here screaming at the TV. Honestly, when that happened, why on earth they put Riley or put Spencer back in there? Maybe he felt more comfortable, as they mentioned on the broadcast, and I agree with it. Maybe they felt more comfortable with Spencer Rattler, maybe having more reps in a 2-point conversion type of situation, maybe more confidence in him fielding the snap cleanly. I don't know. It was bizarre. It worked out, but I thought that was a very bizarre decision, without a doubt. So yeah, a lot of comments here. Caleb may have known that play, definitely. Let's see. You figure he had more reps on all the plays. The first team did make a better choice. Seemed crazy. It was. Let's see. Caleb starts the field. And I think you'll see that. You'll see him get better. There was one play, and this is one of the, and it was a long, um, it was a long play. It was a play where we saw Mario Williams go across the field, and he was wide open, and Caleb was trying to get it to him, and he just wasn't able to get it to him. And so I think that was, but I think one of the things that you notice that he's going to try to get the ball down the field. And another thing that you notice is he was not making a lot of predetermined reads where he thought that the ball should go. He was moving off to the second, third, and fourth guy, which is incredibly solid for a true freshman. Oh yeah, David, absolutely. I told him, I said, hey, give him all the credit. Delivered that play and a play that Oklahoma wouldn't have won, probably wouldn't have won if he doesn't make that play. Um, I would not be surprised. I think he probably should wait until the end of the season, or at least between the either the playoff game and the last game of the season. But yeah, I think he'll either go to the transfer or declare for the draft, one of the two. Um, let's see. Yeah, I got that taken care of for you. Sorry, I saw that in the chat. Um, I believe there's. That's fair. I think that's fair. Let's see. Oh, so don't get me wrong here on that comment about Jalen Hurts. I he just didn't play well in that game. I don't have loved the kid at Oklahoma, one of the best kids you'll ever see in the game of college football. So I have nothing but good things to say about Jalen Hurts. So don't take any of my comments or anything like that, unless you're talking to someone else, um, as anything other than a kid that did the right thing over and over and over again. But it was just really that he didn't play well in that championship game, and that's why he got and that's why he got taken from out of the starting lineup to Cam Crimson, my man. Dare I say Sooner Magic? Yeah. So for you guys, me and my man Cam here, we're in a kind of a group chat here on Twitter, and we talked about it today. Is wow, Sooner Magic at its fullest. 21-point deficit, and Oklahoma finds a way to win. Absolutely. Yep, I noticed this as well. And thanks for the donation, Cam. I completely appreciate it. You're the man. Um, and I think that's a big leadership thing. Seeing him um, not cheering from the bench, from the sideline. Absolutely. He's still the all-time leading passer in Oklahoma. Yeah, I agree with you, but he was nowhere near one of the best um, quarterbacks in Oklahoma history. I'll just tell you that. Watching him bigger deal than any other player. That's not leaving no one player is bigger than. Yep, I agree. Yes, he is definitely taller than Kyler Murray, without a doubt. Agree, Cam. Yeah, I think that's the reason why, without a doubt. Um, I'll have to look at that, Cam. I haven't seen that. I wouldn't at all be surprised. Um, I'm trying to stay diplomatic in my comments, but if I was the head coach and I saw that behavior from Spencer Rattler on the field, on the sidelines, giving that video, I haven't seen that at all, but the kid would never play for me again. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, and I know that some of you guys may still like Rattler. I don't. have any ill will towards him. Some of the comments that he's made over the last few weeks, talking about fans don't know college football, you guys could never play. I understand that from that perspective, but the fact that the way he acted on the sidelines, never going and congratulating Caleb Williams, the things that he's done, just his behavior, the kid would never play for me again if it was me. You're absolutely right. So, well, we're about an hour and a half in. We've consistently had over 100, almost got to 100, and almost got to 200 here. So, thanks you guys for joining. Again, I think it's one of the best Oklahoma games I've ever watched. The best Red River shootout game I've ever watched as well. And I think, if this can be a catapult for Oklahoma into the back half of the season, continue to play well, continue to play complementary football, it sets Oklahoma up for another opportunity for a Big 12 championship game, or championship win first, and then secondarily a potential spot to play to go in the playoffs. So I think Oklahoma's heading in the right direction, and so we'll see next week. TCU. I don't think the game time has been announced, but I think it's probably an early 11 a.m. game. I think from what I understood, it's either 11 or 6:30. I think maybe ABC picks this up for 6:30, and Oklahoma State and Texas might be at 11, but we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But stay tuned. Come join me on Wednesday at 11:30. We'll talk more about this and look forward to the season, the back half of the season. So God bless you guys, and Boomer Sooner.